Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new episode of this podcast. This week, I was given the wonderful opportunity to be able to talk and catch up with Hattie. Now, she runs a great dance company here in Salisbury, and I never know what we're going to talk about before interviews, and that's why I do the interview, the intro and the outro afterwards. But we actually got into some great bits of like mindset changes and some of the misconceptions sometimes around both our industries, but in general just when it comes to a business owner as well. But hopefully you're going to take some value from this episode. I really appreciate you coming back and enjoying the interview. So I'm now going to hand over to our lovely guest today and let her explain a little bit more about what she does.
Cool. I'm Hattie Dawson. I'm 24 years old. I live in Salisbury and I am the principal of Panthera Dance Company. We've been running for about 2 years now. We opened in Salisbury in 2018, but obviously we've had the lockdown since. But we are a company that is inclusive, fun, affordable, that provides dance training and instruction for everyone, inclusively, from the ages 4 upwards, and we have adults and students which are up to 60, 70 years old as well. But yeah, we provide instruction in street dance, contemporary, commercial, jazz, musical theatre, and we're based on Churchfields in Salisbury.
Oh, exciting. So there's a lot there. So firstly, thank you for coming on. Welcome. And it's I think for me, because I've obviously known of you briefly through other work that we've done briefly together, unofficially through the city and etc. I remember the team market a couple of years ago as well. And I think the main question for a lot of people who do listen to the podcast is going to be, well, have you always wanted to be a dancer? Have you always wanted to teach? Like, how do you? I guess the question there is like, how do you get started in dancing? Right, like how does that happen? Like, are you just like grooving in like as a small girl in your living room? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, so I feel like my story's a little bit cliche. I absolutely have wanted to be a dancer all my life, and it's the classic story of my parents put me into a ballet class when I was about 4 years old, and I never really got bored of it. So yeah, I've been training as like a hobby type thing all the way through until I was about 18, when I was studying my A-levels and stuff at school. And then I decided I wanted to take it a little bit further, so I took a gap year. I worked at a local company teaching street dance in schools and stuff like that, and then decided I wanted to take it even further and trained for my further education, took a degree in dance up in Leicester. And then after I had graduated with a first class, I went on a little bit of a travel and did some dancing across different countries and shows in England as well, and then decided I want to share my passion and my talent with other people, and decided to create this dance school and give Salisbury a little bit more of opportunity in the arts world, because I know it can be difficult sometimes, especially, with, Novichok and COVID. It's been a bit, but my story is basically I've always wanted to be a dancer. I absolutely love it. There's not been one day that I've not wanted to do it, and it makes me feel alive, and I just want to share that with other people and educate them in the art sector as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think the art sector is one that has been obviously really hit with COVID, but, I think Salisbury's in a very special place because we also got hit with Novichok really hard, a couple of years before. So it's like, how can you punch a city when it's already down? Okay, we'll give it a pandemic on the top. I think for me, and I don't like, a lot of the early podcasts was like, right, well, how does your business dealt with COVID? But I think, that's becoming quite cliche. So that's why I haven't like specifically scheduled it or planned to ask it specifically. But I think the main question there is that may be a challenge that you've had to pivot or change or tweak the business for. But how have you found? Firstly, have you had others before that? And then if so, how have you kind of, as a company director, etc., changed and adapted the company, especially as you are arguably so young to do that? A lot of people say to me, oh, how do you learn? How have you learned to be able to grow the company to where it is now and that kind of thing? And I'll throw in afterwards, but let me hand back to you. What have you ran into challenges? Like, has there been challenges? I don't know. I'm sure there has been.
I think I've been lucky with my journey with Panthera, in the fact that I've only come through challenges which most startup business owners go through. Obviously there's like the financial side and, you know, investing into it, and not only financial but time as well, investing time into it. And because I am young, I didn't really know much when I started out. I didn't really know the business side, as it was, because obviously I'd done all my training in dancing and I knew I could dance and I knew that I could teach dance, but it's obviously all of the technicalities behind the business as well. So I wouldn't say I've come across loads of challenges. I think I've actually been really lucky with it, and my support network and the students here and their parents are absolutely incredible. They help me all the time, and it's what makes it absolutely worth it. Um, but also in terms of COVID, I don't think, well, it was a challenge in the way that obviously things had to change. But I do think that there were silver linings to it, and it opened up more opportunities to different ways of performing or teaching or creating art and dance, especially in this case. So, I'm quite a positive person. So, looking at it on the whole, even though it's been a bit difficult, you know, trying to get used to talking to a screen all the time, which can be a bit mind numbing at times, I've actually really enjoyed the challenges that's come with it, because I've been able to scope out my creation and my art in that way, like changing to video or figuring out how I can teach the kids how to create dance videos, or what's got to go into it, or what's behind it, or like showing them other videos or examples of other people's creations and stuff like that. So there's been silver linings to it, of course. So I personally wouldn't say it's been a massive challenge and it's absolutely changed everything in my business, but just as much as every other business. But yeah, I have been lucky with my journey in Panthera, and I wouldn't say that there's any massive challenges that I can think of, or bumps in the road, apart from the classic, you know, oh, if I do this, is this going to make a difference on, you know, my finance side, or am I going to be able to afford this, or do I have the time to do it, as just a solo, you know, sole trader at first. Like I had no other teachers, it was only myself, so I was kind of, you know, working constantly 24/7, as you do anyway when you have a startup business. But it's helped me develop and get to where I am now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things where COVID kind of showed a lot of people, it's like, well, do you really want to do this, right? Are you doing it because it's the thing to do, or is it actually your calling, or is it actually the thing you want to do? You know, because I think it's, you know, for me anyway, it was like, well, and I'm sure you had this moment as well, because a lot of businesses have said that, you know, there was this moment at the start of COVID where, well, that's it, business done, can't operate, there you go, job done. But then you kind of get to a point where it's like, right, when you're through that, you're like, right, okay, well, what can I do? Right, what am I able to do, and I need to get better now, right? There's a situation where I need to get better, so how can I get better for my, you're in your case students, for my clients, etc., depending on you know, what your service is. But I think, you know, the arts trade as a whole has been very interesting to see how it's pivoted specifically, and sort of changed and developed on how it was. I mean, we're going to use the age old, like, the Zoom year, I think 2020 would be ended up being. But I think, you know, have you found there was skill sets that you kind of picked up during that Zoom year, so to speak, that your take moving forward, as hopefully we're moving out for the last time?
Yeah. Cross fingers. No, yeah, I definitely took this Zoom year as a way, or a chance of me to develop my skills and train in things that I wouldn't usually have time to training. So as I said before, as most people know, there's the saying of, you work like 2 years in your first year of your startup business in 1 year. It's all condensed, it's absolutely manic. And like you said before, when COVID started coming around, you know, March last year, there was a moment of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, the business is going to close. And for me personally, it was only open a year before that. So it was like, what's happening? But then looking at it from a different perspective, it's given me time to train in, you know, I've been taking courses in special educational needs teacher training. I've been able to take courses in child anxiety, in eating disorders, stuff like that. The training which isn't necessarily absolutely needed in my business, but I wanted to do, first because I had time, but second because I mean I like learning, but third because it will benefit my business when, you know, everything reopens back to normal again. I'll be able to give that support to my students and be able to, like as you say, increase my skill set. But aside from like all the training that I've been able to do, it's given me an opportunity to network with people that I wouldn't necessarily network with. So with shows that I've been doing recently, we've had the Shift Hub, which is on at the Art Centre at the moment. I've been able to meet people from the Youth Arts Network that live all the way down in Cornwall and Devon and stuff like that, which is more difficult to meet up with in real life. So it's given me that opportunity. So I guess in that way, it's helped me communicate with people more, or understand the sector a bit more, understand where I want to go and what I want to do. And yeah, it's benefited me in that way. So it's definitely improved my skill set. I mean, on the other hand, there's been, you know, months where you don't speak to a lot of people because it is all via Zoom. So it's strange meeting people in real life again. But I've managed to keep myself positive and keep going and really benefit from not a year off, but a year away from studio lessons and constant 24/7 admin, etc., etc. So yeah, I think it's been quite a beneficial year for me in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, when we actually get through this, and by no means are I don't think anyway, we're through it, but I think when we are, I think people will look back and go, bloody hell, I did a very, you know, as a business owner, they'll go, wow, I actually did a really good job changing what I did, and, you know, etc. And I think, you know, do you think you're going to, I mean, there's two ways, I think, in my opinion anyway, that your business could tweak, but, you know, I don't want to speak for you, but the main thing I think for me is going to be, do you think you'll have some Zoom only like lessons, or is it always going to be studio based stuff now? Because I imagine before COVID it was like, no, we're strictly doing only studio stuff because that's easier, that's, you know, it's the way you were probably taught to do it. It was probably the easier way for you to actually engage with the people you're teaching and the students you're teaching. But, you know, there may be, and there's benefits across Zoom, you know, like you're not tied to location, as you've already mentioned, you know, you in theory are not really tied to time zone as well, you know, so there's benefits there. But do you think you'll add extra services and such to the teaching side of it through Zoom now?
Absolutely. I think before lockdown, I didn't even consider Zoom lessons or online lessons in the way that we've done them this year, because, you know, no one even thought of, you know, the world going online for a year. But now coming out of it and seeing the benefits of it, like you say, in terms of, you know, location and stuff. I mean, we did an Instagram live class, which was free. And we had people from India, from America, all joining in on this class, which seems so surreal for me as a 24-year-old girl from Salisbury, getting people from, you know, America and India coming to your classes. But it's absolutely opened up a whole bunch of opportunities in that sense. And it's definitely something that we're going to be considering when new terms start, because it gives a whole load of opportunities to loads of people. And yeah, I've learned that myself as well. Like I say before in the training, I've been able to take classes where I'm the student and someone else is the teacher, or from teachers in America who I'd never have the opportunity to be in their class unless I flew over there and took like their really expensive classes in these really strange locations and stuff like that. It's been a real eye-opener and a real big opportunity to learn from people that you wouldn't necessarily learn from before. So yeah, absolutely, we'll be considering doing more Zoom lessons for people all over. And when I went to uni in Leicester, I met quite a few people there, obviously, because I was there for 3 years. And it's nice to be able to reconnect with those people, and those people do my classes and I can do their classes, even though they're 3 hours away from me. It's absolutely opened up a whole bunch of opportunities, and it's definitely something that we will consider carrying on.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that allows you to I'll use the term infinitely scale your business, because that's technically what it does, right? And I think for me, it's about when you have that ability and when you have that understanding that you can do that, then it's just working out the moving parts in how to do that, and it opens up a huge different market. And especially if you're really specialist in your field, if you become one of the best, I don't know the industry, you may already be one of the best, but if you are one of the best in your trade, then you will naturally, there'll be a huge demand for what you are teaching and what you're showing. So it opens up those other markets. And I think for me, something else I wanted to talk about briefly was, you started a vlog, which is great. And how, I mean, the question there was, I think, how have you found that process? Because for me, as a video content creator, and it's something I've done for a very, very long time, it becomes second nature to me now, because I've done it for a decade, right? So I just do it out. Oh yeah, I'm just talking to my phone. Oh yeah, I'm just talking to camera. They're things that I just do. But how was that? I mean, how was that vlog? Like, what? Firstly, for those who don't know, why are you vlogging in the first place? Like, what's the point? And then number two, how have you found it?
Well, by no means am I a vlogging expert, but it's definitely been a fun experience. So we're creating this vlog because we are opening a second studio currently. And when we opened our first studio back in 2018, we created this vlog as well. And it shows the progress of what the studio was before. So our studio one, the one that we're in currently, it was a blank space. It was an industrial unit. It was someone's garage. Like, there was nothing here. And we wanted to create a state-of-the-art studio with sprung flooring, lighting, presentation devices. We also have a TV where the parents can come and watch the classes rather than the parents being in the studio at the same time. So we really wanted to make something really special, and a way of, well, I guess almost advertising this or sharing the experience with our students was to create this vlog. And we've decided to do it again for our second studio, which is currently under renovations now. It's actually right next door to our studio now, which is really good. But yeah, I feel like the first like series of vlogs that we did for this first studio was more like, okay, we need to get people to, see who we are, what we're doing, that we're serious, like this is our first big move in the business. And this second vlog has become more of a, let's make the students smile, let's make them feel part of this experience and keep them updated with everything that's going on. So even though I am not a vlog creator, it's been like an expert vlog creator. It's been a fun experience because we've been able to share these things with our students. And I mean, our first vlog, it's not formal in any way. It's fun. It's my sister and I, who's the assistant principal of the business, having a bit of fun, trying to explain what our plans are for the studio. And it's been really nice having the students back in this week going, I really liked that bit of the vlog, or that was really brilliant to hear, or Anya was so funny in this bit, or it's just a bit of fun to get everyone involved and make sure that everyone knows that we are a serious business, and we want to create an amazing environment, a family-friendly space for everyone, but also we're fun. We want to make this experience fun. We don't want to make these vlogs like, oh, today we're knocking down this wall. It's like, oh, here's an aircon unit that we don't know how to describe, and I don't know why we're showing you this aircon unit, because it's just an aircon unit, but here you go. Like, it's just a bit of a fun way of explaining what's going on. So yeah, I think it's a good marketing technique as well, because it's visual. People like visuals, and they like to be involved and know all the gossip and the details. So yeah, that's why we've been doing it, but it's definitely been a fun experience.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I mean, and that's why, I was like, great to hear you guys were doing it again, because I think, I'm going to say this because I'm very biased at video content for a reason I can't think of, but, for me, it's one of those things that showcases your personality, and I think it's different because most people, especially now, they want to buy from people or go and get a service from someone who they know and they like and they trust, right? Like, a lot of the time we talk about this in marketing, there's three main stages that people go through on marketing, that are your potential customers, potential clients. It's, do they know you first, then do they like you, then do they trust you? Because no one's going to buy from someone who they don't trust. And part of what I would feel your vlog does, and from what it sounds like, you in some ways see, and you know, I think it's gonna be really valuable for you, is one, it'll be something that you can look back at and go, well, this is where the like for example with Studio One, you can look at the progress from when Studio One was an empty block, an empty square, to where it is now. And someone who's new to the business and doesn't necessarily know who you are can look and go, actually, bloody hell, look at the transition, right? And the same with Studio 2, and the same with, I imagine, what will be in hopefully a couple of years or probably sooner, Studio 3, Studio 4, Studio 5, whatever you choose to do, you know, or even a completely different location. You know, I think, and it's one of those things where as you grow in the business, it's attaching your personality to those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be, you know, a personable person, someone that feels, I want people to feel comfortable to talk to me. And that's the same with the students. I mean, one of our main, you know, unique selling points of Panthera is that we are a family business. Like, it is my dad, my sister, myself, and we want to create that environment where people feel comfortable with talking to us. They trust us. They understand what's going on in the business. They feel part of it. And that's why we have this, you know, upstairs area where parents can come and watch and talk to us. And, you know, it's not that drop off at the door and, you know, your daughter goes and does her street dance class and comes out an hour later. It's a come in, have a tea and coffee, meet us, understand who we are, what's going on, what's your daughter or what's your son, and then come back next week. That's what we wanted to, that's what we do, and that's what we love doing, and we love meeting the family. So the vlog kind of shows, you know, it's a bit of fun. We want you to be involved. We want you to know what's going on, and hopefully that's what it's put across, rather than this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, and, you know, that's it. It's just a bit of fun and a bit of entertainment for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of those things, whenever you do any content, you know, it should educate, but it also should entertain. Right, that's the main point. And I think with a lot of what you do, there's a lot of, so how do you go from I have no idea how to dance to I know how to dance, right? Like, that's, I think, the main question that most people are going to come to you and ask is, so my children, my etc., they like the idea of dancing, but they don't have the technicalities or the, you know, the moving parts that go between where they are and where they want to be, you know. And also, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's also not always necessarily seen, maybe more now, but for a long time I don't think it was seen as a career path. You know, I think, you know, in the same way with what I do, content creation, the industry as a concept of content creation hasn't really existed. It's only really been here for about 5-6 years properly. You know, yes, there was TV, and yes, there was that, but what I do and what TV does, I see as different, you know. But this industry specifically didn't really exist 10 years ago, not really. And I don't think yours did in the same way. Have you seen a kind of transition from, say, like 3-4 years ago at your industry and now?
I think there's this huge stereotype of, you know, a little kid going, oh, I want to be a ballerina when I'm older, and I'm going to be a dancer, and it's going to be amazing. And there's always someone that goes, oh, you need to think about something else, or, you know, why don't you do something a bit more academic, or this or that or whatever.
Just get a real job.
Yeah, exactly that. The amount of times I've heard that is sickening, to be fair. But there's always that stereotype. It's like the stereotype of a little boy going, I want to be a footballer when I'm older. And annoyingly, it sticks with you, because I have had many people in my career go, are you sure you just want to put, you know, like all your eggs in one basket and be a dancer, and do you not want anything else, you know, behind you, or this or that or whatever? And I think when I was at school, like you say, there was not a lot of dance opportunities, especially in Wiltshire, or in Salisbury to be specific, which could give you that career opening. And I think I was a bit of a black sheep in the way that I was like, yeah, I'm academic, like I want to do my A levels, I want to do my GCSEs and whatever, but I want to be a dancer. And however many people told me that I should, make sure I've got maths and this and that. Not that there's anything bad with that. It's just that I knew that I was determined to be a dancer. So when I went to uni and I realized all of these opportunities that were opening up to me, but also being educated on the careers that are around dance as well. It is not just you're a dancer and that's it. It's you're an educator, you're a creator, you're a support system, you're a role model, you're all of these things, as well as the technical jobs like, oh, you could work in stage management, you could work in, show production and stuff like that as well. You don't necessarily have to be a dancer and that's it. So I think you're right in saying that 10 years ago, there was not a lot of opportunity for dance like there wasn't in your business as well. And I think it's grown because I think people are understanding that expression is a huge thing that everyone needs in their lifestyle. Everyone needs it, no matter how you express it or how you relieve your stresses and stuff like that, whether it's yoga, whether it's dance, whether it's knitting, whether it's, going to the pub or whatever, you need it. And I think that especially over the last year when mental health's been a huge thing, this need for expression or this need for art has come around like so big. And I remember the uproar, with the government last year or something going, oh, well, Fatima was a ballerina and you need to change your career path. Why not think about medicine or whatever? No one realizes how much art is in the world and how much it is needed. So I think finally it's being recognized to a certain extent. And I think that there are more opportunities, but that is part of the reason why I wanted to create Panthera, because I wanted more people to appreciate it and to understand it, not just on I'm a ballerina and I do point work on stage, but a way of release, a way of expression, a way of helping you through everything else that's happening in life as well, just like it's helped me, just like it's helped loads of other people. So I think I think it's growing. I think it's getting there. I don't think it's exactly where it should be. Regardless, just like probably most of the art sector doesn't think it's exactly where it should be, but I think it's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things that it'll be very interesting to see where it is in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or etc. Because what we have an idea of our industries right now is like we're on this direction. But what we'll actually find is they're probably going to accelerate. Because from what I've seen anyway, there's more and more and more demand, especially now, for something that's creative, something that you can lean into, something that's, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of demand for it, and the tacticianers of that, so in your case dance, in my case video, there's a lot of those elements that have cross skills, and that's what a lot of people, I think, especially if you don't come from an arts background, you won't necessarily understand that. Especially if you're a business owner, you're actually developing communication skills, admin skills, writing skills, listening skills, people skills. I could say it forever, but they're skills that, let's say, hopefully you'll still be in business in 20 years to come. But let's say you weren't, you would have said this chapter of my life, for whether you decided maybe this is not what I want to do anymore, maybe I want to do something else, or for whatever other reason. But you've actually developed a huge amount of skills that you can then go to a different company, or you can go to something else and go, well, actually, yeah, I can deal with people. Actually, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I understand this. I understand this. Because you've had to develop those skills. And I think it's really important for people to understand that. But also, another thing which I really wanted to touch on a little bit was you talked about being a role model a little bit. And I think that there's sometimes a misconception, and I talk about this a lot, where people, the photographers and other videographers go to me, I want an audience, I want an audience, I want an audience. I'm like, are you sure you want an audience? Are you sure? Do you know what that feels like? Do you know what that is going to mean? Do you understand how that's going to change your day to day, right? I don't know whether you've had this, but because I work very locally, I can't really walk through town without someone noticing me or stopping me and having a conversation, which is great, and I love it, and I'm really, really grateful, don't get me wrong. But it will change your perspective. It will change your idea, because you'll suddenly have this click moment where people are like, hold on, people are actually watching my content? So hold on, like people, like friends of yours or people you know will go, oh, I love that bit in that video you just made. And then in your head, I don't know whether it's me, but for me, I was always like, I'm just putting these videos out because I enjoy doing it, right? But now I'm in a position where people are actually watching them. So I'm like, oh, right, okay. I mean, I think the question there is, I mean, were you ready for that? Like, not even necessarily on a video status, but people looking up to you. Were you ready for people to look up to you, number one? And then how was it what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, actually, because like you said, I don't think a lot of people understand it at first. And it really is a way of life, like being a business owner and being a role model in, Salisbury is a way of life. You walk through town and there are people there that go, oh, it's Hattie, or oh, like, what are you doing, and this and that, or whatever. It's definitely something that you need to get used to. But I find it exhilarating. I love it. I love having the feeling that I am helping someone almost every day. And that is exactly what I wanted my business to do. And because, like every business owner, you're so passionate about what you do, it's such a reward to have someone go, you've really helped me, or I want to be like you, or how can you help me do this in my life, and stuff like that. And I think it was a big point here that, because like I said before, having this upstairs area where we get to chat to the families and chat to the students, it's definitely created this community of help and support, not only for us, but us helping and supporting them as well. And yeah, it's incredible. I love it, and I want it to continue forever because it's such an exhilarating feeling. But yeah, in terms of like being a dance school, one of my main things that I say to all my students, they hear it all the time, is that because we're not a dance school that offers, syllabus and exams and, you have to do this, you have to do this. I love creating choreography and teaching it to my students, but saying to them, I'm not trying to make you robot versions of me. I'm not trying to make you all be me. I'm saying this is your chance to create who you want to be. I'm just giving you the steps and giving you the movements, and then you choose how you want to express it. If you want to be like really girly and sassy in this dance, do it. I will support you the whole entire way, absolutely. If you feel like this is more of a slow or contemporary movement, do it, absolutely. I'm open to that, and I want them to feel comfortable to be themselves the whole entire time that they're here. So yeah, I think at first I was naive to it. I was a bit like, oh my gosh, like I'm almost in the spotlight all the time. But now I've gotten used to it. It's a really nice feeling of being able to help everyone who's around me, and being able to be the type of person who someone feels comfortable with coming over to me and being like, can you help me with this? And I like that. I love it because it's my passion, because this job is my passion. So, but yeah, you're right. People at first don't think that it's a big thing. And then you realize that it's almost the main thing, that you become in the spotlight. You are the person to talk to. And it's like, I could do like 4 classes in the evening and I have like 15-minute breaks in between them. They're not breaks. They're talking to people. They're understanding people. They're getting advice from people, giving people advice. Like there's no stopping. But because I love it, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one of the main things I took from what you were just saying, is it's a lifestyle, right? Like I think especially as, you get known for whatever it is that you do. Yes, that's a great position to be in. Yes, it's a very powerful position to be in. But it also, I think for me anyway, I don't know whether you found this, but it's in some ways forced me to become a better person. Because even in when I'm in a bad mood or I'm having a bad day, I know if I walk into town, it's unfair of me if someone stops me or has a conversation with me or whatever, or I see someone I know or etc., to be in a position where they're like, I can't reflect that bad energy back on them because it would be unfair on them. So I'm like, okay, well, why am I actually in a bad mood here, right? Like, what's the, like, is there an actual problem? And some of the time I do say to people, look, today's just not going my way. I really appreciate you, like, checking in and saying hey, and and stopping in the street and stuff, but like today my brain's just not with this right now. And most people, like, are they're completely cool with that because they appreciate that you're a human, right? Like, everything we put out is curated, right? So whether a filmmaker says, oh, it's curated or not, the fact that you edit it proves that it's curated, right? So I think needs to be a level of rawness, but it's also sometimes if you put it too raw, it can work the other way around. And
no, absolutely, like, we're all human. Like, I'm not saying, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows all the time. There's definitely days where I'm like, I've just finished my 8 classes and I want to go home and I don't want anyone to talk to me. I'm like, okay, I need to stop talking to people. Like, everyone gets that, and that's absolutely okay to have those days. And again, like you say, there's absolutely okay to have those days where you're like, oh, actually, I don't feel exactly 100% today, like, I'm just going to take it a bit calmer, or do you mind if I talk to you about that tomorrow, or whatever. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but for the most part, personally, for me, it helps me get out of those bad days where I come here and I'm like, this is my freedom. And I'm very lucky in the fact to say that my work is my freedom, because usually it's the other way around when you go home and you're like, oh God, work's done. But for me, if I'm having a bad day, coming here helps me. And again, like I said before, dance is my way of expression. So dance is my way of getting out of that feeling. But you're right, everyone's human. There's not every single day of the year is going to be like, oh my God, I love this is amazing. But yeah, it's good. Sometimes it's good to have those break days where you're like, I just need a time for myself, and it comes with time.
Yeah, I think I forget who said it, but it was a photographer I think I follow for a very long time, and he's talking about those days. He's talking about when we go out to get a shot and it's pouring rain and it's freezing cold, and you're wet, you're tired, you've been up since 4 a.m, and you don't even get the shot that you got up for, right? And then you need to ask yourself. I mean, I think there'll be a lot of parallels in what you do as well, but you need to ask yourself, this is arguably the worst situation I'm going to be in when I'm technically working, right? Is this better than the best days I had at a job, right? Like, a job I have had, I imagine everyone has had a what we would describe as a real job, right? At some point. Is this better than my best days there? If the answer is yes, then you're in a very, very fortunate position. And I think that's personally for me helps me ground and understand where I am and be very, very grateful to be where I am, because I also know people from my old real job still, and I see what they have to deal with and what they go through and the kind of shit they get handed every single day, and it's like, well, I saw an opportunity to get out of that rat race. I got an opportunity to be able to fully control a lot more about my life. And as a business owner, we're very, very lucky in respect to, if we want to take a week off randomly, we literally can, pretty much, right? There's some caveats to that, of course, like anything, but in no other job can you just click your fingers and then suddenly have a week off, and it's very, very lucky, and it's very, very fortunate to be able to do that. But I think for me it also becomes, and that's why I like talking to business owners, because they're the people who will understand the constant ticking over in your head. Because yes, you're not working technically, right? So in your case, you're not teaching, but you're still thinking about it. You're still thinking, how can I do this better? What can we do? What projects are going on? Even if you're not having a new studio fitted, for example. The follow-on question was going to be, I'm sure you've had points where you push it a little bit maybe too far and you're close to burnout, or maybe you have burnt out. What advice would you give to people? Because a lot of the people who do listen to the podcast and would, I believe anyway, be this far through, are people who have a similar mindset to me in regards to they want to push their limits and they want to go. But I think for me, I've more recently anyway developed a kind of understanding between I'm pushing my limits and I'm pushing it too far where it's going to hurt me long term. So how have you dealt with burnout? I think is the question there.
I guess, having your own business is 24/7. Like you said, if you're not actually doing, what your job is, like from my example, teaching, you're constantly thinking about it 24/7. But it, I know this sounds so cliche, but what I have to remember is you have to have time to yourself. You have to have time to yourself. And it's very easy to get caught up in the, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, like constantly having lists in your heads of things to do. And sometimes you need to almost schedule in time to go, right, I'm going home on Saturday at 6 p.m. and I am not going to open my laptop until Monday. And I needed to remind myself that is okay, because like you said, if you compare yourself to people who have a real job, like for example, I used to work at Waitrose in my gap year, I'd have time off that. I'd go to work, I'd do my 8-hour shift or whatever, and I'd come back and that would be my time. And that's exactly the same as you need to remember when you own your own business. It's not, I mean, it is 24/7 because you're thinking about it 24/7, but it's not an opportunity. You need to give yourself an opportunity to go, I need to switch off from this. And that's what's kept me from my burnout, because in my first year of business and trying to figure out exactly how to set this up with all the right insurances, licenses, all of, the technical stuff of it as well. And then all the teaching, and then trying to find other teachers and advertising and this and that and whatever. I would have absolutely run myself to the ground if I didn't go, right, next week, I'm taking a day off. And even though kind of in your body, you're like, I can't afford a day off because I have so much to do, you need to force yourself to have it, because otherwise, like you said, you're just going to burn out. And that's exactly the same as now. Like, it's obviously very busy at the moment because we've just come back to studio classes. We've got, parents coming in for meetings. We've got Studio 2 going under renovations. It's constant at the moment. And again, I've had to go, right, Saturday night, I'm going to go see my friends and I'm not going to think about work. So it's a really simple bit of advice, but you need to remember that you need time to yourself. You absolutely need time to yourself. Whatever job or whatever career you're in, you need to have time to just think of nothing. Just watch some rubbish Netflix TV program or whatever for 5 hours on the run. And you shouldn't feel guilty for it, because it's very easy to feel guilty for it when you could be working and could be earning or could be developing your business.
Yeah, and I think that I definitely agree. There's definitely a guilt factor at the start. It's like, oh, I should be doing X, Y, Z. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. Because as you say, there's always stuff to do, even if it's not, I have a client to serve in my case, or, I'm not teaching or getting ready to teach or just finished teaching or whatever. There's always something else as a business owner you can be doing, right? So it's, let's look at what the strategy is. Let's look at what we're doing with marketing. Let's look at the website. Let's look at the content. Let's look at whatever it is, right? And I'm just scratching the surface on what business owners think about on a daily basis. But I think the main thing there is to not feel guilty, because for me at the start anyway, I always felt guilty whenever I took time off, because I was like, but I should be working. I should I'm never going to be able to make it. And I think it's one of those things where once you put your all into something and you lean into doing whatever it is you love or whatever it is your business is, you need to understand that once you establish it and once it's there and it's gaining momentum, and especially as you start bringing in more people, it can function without you for 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month, whatever it may be, right? That's not hands off, easy peasy, because there will be change if you do it for too long. But it's also about having that balance between it can function without you. It will still exist when you come back in 48 hours. Someone is not going to come away and go paint over it, right? It's not magically going to disappear. It will be there. It will still have the reputation it has. It will still have the demand it has. It will, so on. That takes a lot longer to disappear. It will disappear. Yes, it will. But it takes a lot longer than 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, So once you gain clarity and understanding in that, I think it's really, as you say, it's then important to take those days and say, look, I'm just going to be a kid again. That's how I see it. It's just, I'm just going to have fun, right? If that's watching Netflix for 5 hours, if that's playing computer games, if that's going drinking, if that's whatever it is, everyone has a different thing, but it's about understanding and keeping that one thing as a hobby. Or if you don't have that one thing, try a load of things until you find the thing that you can really get behind and really enjoy. And because then it will allow you to actually work better when you're at work. And that doesn't mean physically at work, that means mentally at work. Whenever whatever you're doing. I mean, have you found there's been a transition? Because you said in your first year, along with a lot of people, I'm sure, they did the whole, I'm going to work every hour that God gives because I need to make this work kind of situation. Have you found there's been kind of have you found the same thing as me? Like when you start taking those days off, when you start really pacing yourself a little bit more, that you're actually doing better work or more complex work, or you're actually better at your job?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it refreshes the mind, doesn't it? It keeps you revived. It keeps you, energetic and ready to go again. And I found when I first started, because I was constantly working, like throughout the daytimes, doing all the admin and the technical stuff, when I came to teaching in the evenings, I'd be shattered. And I wanted to make sure that I gave, my students my all and all my energy and, make it as fun for them as possible. And there would be weeks where I'd be like, I'm so tired, I don't have the energy to do this. So it was the realization of almost the burnout of going, no, I need to take time to myself so that I can, provide the best service possible for my students, for my clients or whatever. And then you start to realize that you actually have to take that time off, and you have to, it is going to benefit you, even if you do feel guilty for taking that time off at first. It definitely is like, it forces you to have a better service. And in terms of for artists, creativity, there are definitely weeks and days and months and it's sometimes even years where you're like, I'm not on my game with my creativity here. So choreographing all day, every day can burn you out. There are only a certain amount of choreographies I can do in a day before I go, oh my gosh, I'm doing all the same thing, or this isn't creative anymore. This is just me mixing up stuff that I've done before. So in terms of choreographing, I've definitely had to be like, right, I'm not choreographing this week just so that my mind can refresh. Or if I, for my hobby, take other people's classes so that I can learn more and constantly, better myself in that so that I'm able to create the best content that I can. Because otherwise it just ends up all looking the same and boring. And, the students notice it as well. They could be like, oh, well, if you're not feeling it today, maybe it's not as fun as it usually is. And I don't want that. I don't want any of my students to ever come in and be like, this is a bit boring, or, oh, we've done one like this before. You always want to push yourself to create something new. So I've definitely had to take days off and be like, I need to refresh and revive myself ready for, the next new week or something.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's great to hear that you do the same, and there is those moving parts in that respect as well. That was kind of everything I wanted to discuss, but I'd like to add in on the end of the podcast an opportunity for you to ask me a couple of questions or throw in a topic for us to discuss for a couple of minutes. If you have any, you may not, but is there anything? Because I've had interviews before where I'm like, please give me a chance at the end to ask something because I've got a burning question in my head that I can't ask. It's really annoying. So is there anything that you want to throw in topic wise, or you want to ask me?
I guess as a fellow business owner, again, this is a classic question, but it's nice to hear from other young business owners. What is literally the one piece of advice that you'd give anyone for starting up a business? What was your what was your savior when you opened your business?
There's two ways I can answer this, and it's kind of cheating the whole one bit of advice thing, but hear me out. It's finding that one thing, and the reason why I always use this one bit of advice when I'm asked is it's the one bit of advice that I still hold true today. Would you do something, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it may be, dancing, filmmaking, photography, doing backflips, doesn't matter. Would you do that thing for £1? That's it. Because if you're willing to do it for £1, doesn't matter how hard you scale it up, right? Because, I imagine there's certain terminologies where you work with larger amounts of money when you're doing stuff, and in the same way with smaller amounts, in the same way I do. But the main piece of advice there is it's about understanding the reasoning behind why you do anything, right? Because you can love what you do and you can be really passionate about what you do, but if you're willing to do it for £1, then you can scale that up. So you make £100, £1,000, £10,000, £100,000, whatever it may be. But whenever I ask a client, or whenever I have a conversation with a new client, I'm asking, why do they do what they do? We haven't even talked about money yet, because that's irrelevant, to be honest, for me. If you're doing whatever it is that you do for the right reasons, then we'll be able to work together, right? If you're just for a profit company, then I don't work with you, because I can't work with you, because I don't just care about it. It doesn't align with what I do and how I do it and why I do it. I do what I do because I want to help people share their stories who otherwise can't, or would find it very challenging to do so. You know, I'm a big advocate for people doing stuff themselves, using their phone. You know, you don't need to hire a videographer to create videos. You genuinely don't. The time when you need to hire a videographer is when you want to be seen more professionally and the content suits that. Whether that's producing a high-end professional vlog, fine. That you can do that. That's fine. Or whether it's a more corporate-esque interview, or it's looking more corporate, or feeling more corporate, or etc. And, you know, I could sit here forever and talk about, you know, how we do it and the decisions we make, why we would frame you in such a way, and where we would put you in the locations and so on. Because all of these things are things we think about as filmmakers, because they all mean something. They all have relationships connected to them. But the simple answer there is, for me anyway, especially when you're working with other business owners, you need to understand why they do what they do. Right, and what is the core? Whether they were getting paid £1, £5, £10, £100, £50, £100,000, whatever it may be, would they still do it? Would they still love it? Would they still enjoy it? Would they still give it their absolute all? Some people say to me, "Oh, this project's only such and such," but I'm still putting my absolute all into every project. It doesn't actually matter what budget is. The only thing that you get with more budget is you get more of my time. That's basically the scale factor, right? For me, anyway. But as I say, the core things I won't really work with nowadays, to be honest, and that's because I'm in a very fortunate position where I can kind of choose who I work with a little bit more. But it's simply, I need to understand you as a business owner. I need to understand why you do what you do, because if I'm going to help you tell your story, sell your product, sell your service, whatever it may be, that's what's going to sell. People connect with people. People, as we talked about earlier, people are going to buy from people they trust. So I need to know that I can trust you first, because if I can trust you, then I can help other people trust you. If I can't trust you, then I haven't got a chance in hell.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because one of the biggest debates that I've always had in my mind when I started the business was when people ask, "Oh, how much do you charge?" or like, "Oh, what can I get for this amount of money?" or whatever. And like yourself, for me, it's not about, I mean, obviously there's the business technicalities of it, is you need to get paid for what you're doing, but personally it is a passion. So like you said, I'm willing to put the same amount of effort in if you paid me 50p or if you paid me 100 grand. Like I'm going to put my all into it. And I think that's really interesting to, think about it in that way. And like you said, when you make that extra effort, one thing that I've learned from my dad, especially because he's had a career in policing, and he was really successful in his previous career before helping me, is that you've always got to give the right first impression. And I feel, like you said, people are more likely to understand you and your business and buy from you or hire you or come to your business if they understand you and they trust you. So one thing that I've always done throughout the whole time that I've been a principal or a business owner is, if I'm trying to book a job or if I'm trying to, get myself out there or stuff, always meet that person in person. Especially, the last year, it's been difficult to meet people in person, but giving that first impression and making them understand who you are as a person and as a business owner is way more likely to, you're going to get that opportunity to have that business. And it's interesting because the other day I went to one of the private schools locally, and she's been looking for, a dance teacher for her school for quite a while. And I said to her, I emailed her and been like, how can I help? Like, what services can I give you and whatever. And I said at the end of the email, like, I'd really like to come and meet you in person, like if that's allowed, obviously with the COVID rules and schools and stuff. And she was like, absolutely. And I drove all the way there, and it was about a half an hour drive. And I turned up in my suit and my name badge and stuff like that. And before, like, we'd been talking for like half an hour, 45 minutes before we'd even mentioned dance. And she said to me, which will stick in my mind for a long time, is she said, I would never hire someone that I never got a good first impression from, or who I didn't understand or didn't trust. And she was like, I've never even seen you dance. I haven't seen your videos of your dance, but I already know that I want to be a part of your business and a part of you in this, business transaction or whatever it was, before we'd even talked about dance, which was really eye-opening to me, because beforehand, meeting, emailing people is a faceless communication. They're never going to understand who I am or who my business is if I'm just writing a couple of sentences and being like, can I work for you? So I guess my advice, or my one piece of, my savior was always meet people in person, always talk to them face to face, even if it's completely out of your comfort zone. When I started, I was nervous, I was scared, I hated talking to people or like trying to make conversation, and it's definitely something that I've absolutely improved on. But it's gotten me so many more opportunities because people can understand my passion and understand Panthera because we're talking face to face. So it's really interesting that you said that, because I know I've gone off at a tangent now, but it's interesting you said that, because other businesses, you're selling a service and that's it. I don't want to be a service. I want to be a personable business that you can trust, just like we said.
The reality of the fact is, we're not the Coca-Colas or the Pepsis of the world. We're not, right? And you may want to be one day, fine. But at the start, even Pepsi wasn't, right? And even Coca-Cola wasn't, and etc. If you look up their stories and etc., they were still personal people first, and then they became the global brand that's recognized because it comes in stages. But I think it was I can't remember who it was, but it was something along the lines of, it was like Gary Vaynerchuk or some other big marketer was investing in someone else. I can't remember who. I think it was Casey Neistat or someone. Anyway, and the one of the main like quotes there that I wanted to bring up was, I had no idea what you just spent an hour talking to me about, but I'm going to give you 100 grand of my money because I'm betting on the jockey, not the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true.
Because the thing is that what people sometimes don't understand is people can gain a very quick understanding. The reason why I would agree that you should meet people face to face is there's so much more. It comes to an extent with like video calls, but it's also not the same. It's as close as we can get when we're not allowed to meet physically. But if you can meet someone physically, then do it, because there's so much that we do in general as humans that is related to body language, is related to how we come across, how do we hold ourselves, what do we wear, etc. Now, I personally don't like the fact that we're very superstitious in that respect. However, that's the game you're playing. So you need to understand that certain corporate people, or certain people in general, are going to judge you on what car do you drive, what are you wearing, how is your hair, is your makeup okay in your case perhaps, do you hold yourself well, are you confident, so on, so on, so on, and no one is confident at the start, but you have to at least attempt, and even if you're talking out of your arse, at least come over confidently, because you're more likely to be able to then win over that person to have a conversation when you do know what you're talking about, than if you are very retracted. And also, and I'll leave the ending point here, is business takes time to develop, right? It's not we've just met, great, fab, awesome, you're going to hire me. It's great, that sometimes does happen, and it has happened. But it's very, very rare. Okay? It's very rare. And what normally happens when that does happen is that person is perfect timing for that person, and they just go with their gut and they're like, yeah, full, let's do it. Right? In most cases, it's hey, you know what I do? Hey, I know what you do. Great, cool. 6 months, 8 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 1 month, whatever it is, down the line, you think about something, I come into your head, for example, with video, dancing with you, for example. Oh, I'm having a conversation with someone else. Oh, you should talk to this person because they run. Oh, you should talk to Colton because he does. Whatever it may be. And that's why relationships, and a lot of what we're discussing here is relationship building, right? That's basically what we're discussing about, and it comes back to that. And I really like when podcasts go full circle, because it has in some ways, and it goes back to that. Are you a role model? How are your relationships in public? Walking through Salisbury, getting noticed, etc. People knowing what you do. Because every single person that you interact with in one way or another, as long as you have a positive interaction and you don't, I'm not saying you have to be smiley and glistening and happy all the time. No, of course not. But as long as you're respectful and, and etc. in that respect, then they're going to speak highly of you whenever your name comes up. And I was told very, very early on, your brand is what people, and your branding and your what you do and your business and your reputation is what people say about your business when you're not there. Right? And if anyone's like an hour in and they're going to take anything from this, think about what you're leaving the people you've just had a conversation with. What's their thoughts? What's their image of you? What's their perception of you and your business? Because it will matter in the long term, especially in a place like Salisbury, where every single person knows each other. I'm going to probably count the days in between this recording and the time we'll probably see you by accident in town.
Yeah, it will probably be like tomorrow.
Right, it might even be later this afternoon, right? Yeah. It's very possible. So the point I'm making there is, you don't know when you're going to need or want or be with that person or around that person again. So what you don't want to be in is have a situation where you were really nasty, you were really mean, you were whatever, and everyone has bad days, right? I'm not saying if you've been nasty or mean, that's it, you've ruined it. No. There's people forgive and forget quite quickly. Lives are busy, right? But what I'm saying is, once you move forward, make the decisions you move forward from this day as, I'm not going to try and burn any bridge. Ever. Even if it doesn't work out with someone, that's fine. Things don't work out sometimes. Right? For whatever there could be 1,000 reasons, but also how do you, and I'll leave the final thoughts with you, but how would you go about, say, it didn't work out with someone, how would you tackle that as a situation so you're not burning the bridge?
I think one of the main things, especially as creatives in Salisbury, is Salisbury, even though it's a city, is a small community, and my passion and my inspiration is to support that community. And whatever happens, whether it's good or bad, like you say, bridges can't be burned, because it's all about the support. And if my main goal is to provide Salisbury and the community in Salisbury with this opportunity of dance or creation or inspiration or being a role model, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's who I am, and that's what I'm going to be for a long time, for as long as I am in Salisbury. So just like you say, you shouldn't burn bridges. You should, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone learns from mistakes. And it's just how you deal with it and how you tackle it afterwards and how you go about fixing it, or, continuing to support what your passion is.
Completely agree. For those people who love this interview, want to hear more about what you do, where they, see some of your work, etc., where's best for people to do that? Where can people reach out? Where can people see your stuff?
So we're Panthera Dance Company. So our website is www.pantheradancecompany.co.uk. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We've got all of our recent performances and our wonderful vlogs up there too. But feel free to, get in contact, message us, book in for a free taster class, try something new. But yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gents, for watching and listening to that fabulous interview. I hope you did enjoy it, and I hope you took some value and took some extracts of value in your life to be able to move you and your goals forward as well. I'll be back next week with a brand new set of interviews, or a brand new interview with someone brand new and exciting, I'm sure. I honestly don't know as of right now, because I'm basically out of pre-booked guests at the moment. So if you'd like to come on, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, thank you ever so much for coming back once again. I really appreciate it, and I would love to hear what you think in the comments down below while you're writing down there if you do want to come on. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.